Hi, I'm Liz.
And I'm Rhea.
Welcome to Karma's My Bitch, a podcast about
sex,
love,
magic,
desire,
purpose,
bliss,
and how life isn't simply the stories we tell ourselves. So, number 10, which I quite like, because for me, season 10 was What If It Never Happened in Karma. It was the season I always wanted around relationships. So I've always associated the number 10 with a really nice relationship in general, just like I associate 12 with magic. But what we didn't really talk about so much in the relationship season was all the sexual stuff and the sexual tension, not in the way that we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
And I'm into it because I don't think we've ever spoken about sex like this.
Well, I don't think we can understand sex this way without understanding or being clear about what bliss is. And if healthy sex is a part of being in bliss, then we understand that part of the karmic undoing process and coming into our power, which is why we had episode 9 about full divine power, we have to really understand how much that really our relationship to sex has to transform just to be able to be in bliss.
Well, I remember this because in Karmic Attraction, when we discuss sex and power, and the first iteration, now we mentioned in the previous episode a little bit about how many times we rewrote some of those drafts. Mm-hmm. And when we spoke about sex, it was, you said at some point, it is pure power, source power, sex. And I was very much focused on, as we discussed in a previous episode this season, about how when you start owning your sexual desires, and when the feeling of being turned on is very akin to desire in general, and like you can learn a lot about life through sex, mm-hmm. and kind of like take the lessons from one and apply it to everything else.
Yeah.
But I never fully understood that idea of divinity in sex in the way in which it's currently being presented to me. And I know that we had those episodes in our Let's Talk Dirty season where we really discussed how it's the act of creation and that's why sex has been so policed.
Yeah.
Because of the power to do with it.
Yes.
But I'm really hoping that today, just for a brief moment, we can kind of delve a little bit into sex and power and why those two are so interlinked and how we can use our power to get sex and how we can use sex to express our power, like that, just that beautiful little harmony bit.
Sex tunes us into our co-creative power. Not our creative power, but our co-creative power.
Because we're doing it with someone else.
Exactly, because it depends upon, our experience with someone else.
Yes.
Because even if we have sex with ourselves, it's not quite the same. It allows us to tap into an energy and a power that we would normally have access to in a world of separation. Sex forces us to be in our physical bodies, but also our emotional one and our mental one. But because of separation, and if we are someone who has not come into full-bodied consciousness or higher consciousness, we cannot be fully present in sex. It's just not possible. So when we experience sex with another person, we're either in our physical body in the moment, maybe, or we're in our heads thinking about either what we're doing, what we're going to do, what they're doing to us, or about our grocery list.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do after, right? Or emotionally, it's like, oh, I really love this person, or this is like, or you become aware of something. Yeah. But either way, you're never in your full all of your bodies when it comes to sex. So we've always talked about sex and power because the two are part and parcel, because they connect you to your full power, because you're in full-bodied consciousness connecting to another person and you're completely open. You have absolutely nothing separating you from yourself or another person. And when that happens, that's where you can tap into that power. But
that's not usual in sex as we have every day.
No.
It's so easy to just be like, even the simple of, oh my God, they're touching me, mm-hmm. is not, I'm present in them touching me.
Yeah. Now, it's not to say everybody has suffered from this, like in the sense that there are some who are really in their bodies and really do understand sex and have that. But to some degree, if you are in separation, there's something missing. So if you say you're fully present in sex and like you're in your full power and you're like, I'm rocking their world, I'm rocking my world, we're all like doing this, you might be out of your power in some other area. So, and that will often come through in that sexual relationship, usually in the choice of partner.
Go on. This is interesting. Are you allowed to go on?
I could.
Yes, then do.
I mean, I don't think it's that complicated. It has more to do with like as much as compatible as I am with this person sexually because we're matching, we're really not compatible in other ways. That's why some people, and I think we talked about that. That's why, and this is really when I mean you're in separation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is not a bliss thing where you're like fully committed and whatever, but this is more like we're fitting in this one area because we really match. But for some, but in other areas we suck together.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
Either because you've got some crazy ass thing going on, and I don't feel good about myself in other areas, but together we are like hot and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that exists for sure.
But does that eventually then die out?
Absolutely, because the power gets diminished because absolutely nothing else can sustain it.
And even if there's like one more thing that, like, if there's something within the relationships that aren't, if you are with the wrong person in separation for those reasons, right? Or let's say like
wrong person, they're always the right person till they're not.
Okay, sorry, yes. So let's say you're with someone where sexually it's working really well, but emotionally they're telling you to change and you think you should change, and all this kind of whatever else is going on.
Or there's just an incompatibility, I think.
There's an incompatibility happening. That eventually will mean that the sex gets less hot. And is that why people then are like, oh, I've been in relationships so long and now we don't want to have sex anymore?
No. It doesn't necessarily get less hot, but life gets in the way. But that's why things will fizzle. Because you can only have sex so much and sustain that without some other type of connection. It can quell the separation in the moment, but eventually life gets in the way. Because we will always want more. It is our nature to want more. And we lie to ourselves if we think, oh yeah, this'll do. It will never do forever. It never does. But like when you're talking about that divine power coming in waves, sometimes, and this is why we had that episode, I think even before that, one of the things that you have to deal with is the fact that divine power can actually feel like massive sexual power.
Yeah. Which we discussed in an episode a long time ago. I feel like I'm really like referencing them all today, about how sexual power and creative power, right? You've got the three kinds of power. You've got sexual power, creative power, magic, and divine power.
Okay, cool.
I think those are the three.
I'm going to believe you because you edit the episodes.
I've got no idea. It was such a long time ago.
I know.
But like that sexual power is very creative. It feels very creative. So often you'll find that people who are very creative in whatever they do in their purpose often seem to exude some kind of sexuality as well.
Yes, very much. Very much.
Yeah.
Because you got to be in tune with that.
Yeah.
So when we're experiencing divine power, just imagine that like amped up. And it doesn't mean that that's all you can do. But it's more that it's really part of what you do, even in your daily life. And so, but you can't, given the way our daily lives are run, have sex every minute of the day.
Yes.
Sorry, that would, as dream life fantasy as that would be, it would also be a little impractical because you would get nothing else done. But it's not that easy because then you end up with just all this pent up sexual tension. I mean, I think it's just hilarious that we even have a separate episode about this, that this isn't even just like a point.
Yeah, always.
In a previous, it's always funny. But it's like sexual tension when it comes to bliss in this part of your life, it is just next level lust. And honestly, I think lusting is just awesome. Not everybody likes it because they fixate on it, but for me, I like that. I like that kind of heady feeling.
It's also because you know that it'll be satiated. I think lusting and knowing that it'll be satiated is a really nice feeling. Lusting and associating it with unrealized potential is not a great feeling. But we've always discussed that, when it comes to writing some of the scenes, when you're feeling very lustful, those scenes are so much better.
Yes.
And it's nice to sit in that energy a bit sometimes as well. But it's because also when you're writing or when you're lusting for someone, it'll be satiated. Satisfied is actually the right word there. It becomes an anticipation of excitement rather than an association with dread. So I think that's probably why maybe some people don't necessarily like it. But I guess in bliss, sex is a given, right? Like, so
it is.
You have that. It's the build-up of I'm about to do something. It's like watching the waiter come with your yummy food to the table, knowing that you're so fucking hungry you're going to eat it all.
Yeah, and that's exactly, and that's what you're wanting to eat too. It's like, oh my God, I've been craving that all week.
And it's literally in my face coming towards me.
I just feel like there's so many things so many metaphors flying around.
So
here.
many, so many.
So sexual tension in bliss is the combination of divine power mixing with the biochemical response to the other person that makes us want them now, which is why it is so important to have certain relationships solidified by the time we get to bliss. So that way sex is a given.
Yeah, because otherwise it can be really frustrating.
Precisely. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to be with the one person the rest of your life and, you're going to no, but you will have a sexual partner, somebody with whom you will share that, and it's consistent.
Yeah. But when you say now, do you mean now time?
No, not like we had in previous seasons, because now in bliss, it's inconsequential since we're creating as we go. So either something happens in the moment or it's kind of forgotten or we've moved on and we just don't really carry it. And we have this established level of detachment. But sex, because it is so divine and it is such a divine experience, it's the one thing that demands that we live in the now. That demands that we exist in now time to be able to be present, in which case then we cannot wait for it. Sexual desire, but to the point where if you're in bliss, then it's part of your divine power. It is not something that you can shelve for very long.
No,
because it needs an outlet. It needs to be able to be exercised. So now time is where we exist in our heart. It's not a form of attunement. It's more like the direction of my heart. If the direction of my heart is pointing to this person and I'm feeling all this way, right? Lusty, so into it and needing it and desiring it, and the power is just coming through me and they are my partner, it's got to be now. Hello. That's what that means. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And even if I have to wait 5 minutes,
I'm not waiting 2 hours.
I can't. It has to be satisfied because my heart will explode if it doesn't. It's that feeling.
Okay. But then what happens if the minute isn't the right moment, you're in the tube or you're sitting in a waiting room or
the power just gets built up, but you're going to have to satisfy it somehow. Interestingly, so say you don't have somebody in that moment.
Yeah.
You're still going to want to be selective because you're still going to need to feel like I'm compatible enough with this person.
What happens if, let's say, your partner's on the other side of the world on a business trip?
You'll likely then just masturbate.
Okay. Maybe with them on the phone or something.
Yeah, exactly. Have sexy time, have sexy call, but don't, you're not going to go and pick up some random stranger.
Yeah. But there does get to a point where there's only so much space that you can take before you literally will just combust.
Yeah. And that's what makes sex interesting and bliss, because you're going to want to get more creative with it. You're going to want to do it with much more abandon and be a lot more uninhibited, because you're just and all the things that maybe you didn't necessarily do when you were in your karma because you were seeking validation.
It doesn't matter if we have to go down this fucking alley or we have to do it right here, or I don't care whether, what you're wearing, what shoes you've got on, it's just that. So actually it becomes just this force, this will that is so cool. And it's not so much oh, what happens if they reject me or not? It's just you've got this we both want this, and so nothing's going to get in our way. We will burn the house down,
which is
to
really
get to
nice.
each other.
I'm it's just a nice feeling. Now, what's interesting is prior to bliss, sex is life force, right? It's the giving and receiving of source of life force. Bliss, on the other hand, actually has less to do with life force, and again, more to do with, honestly, I'm going to get sick of this phrase, divine power.
Yeah. Which
is even bigger than that. It is the I am the all, I have access to the all, I source from the all, we are the all, right? So imagine the all coming together with the all. It's a lot. So it wants to experience that all the time, and that is the closest connection you're going to get to another person.
If your partner's not in bliss, how is that working sexually?
Again, what bridges you is love, right?
Okay.
So if you're at a certain vibration in bliss, but the other person's not, love is what connects you to them, which is why now moment has to do with heart. It's the following the direction of my heart, and my heart points that way. And that person is there.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So it's fine, because again, even if it's not divine power for them, it's definitely power, And you can share that because divine power is like infinite.
And also, you're all like wrapped up in each other. So you're both getting this divinely powerful experience. And as you said in a previous episode, when you're at that vibration, you're addictive. Exactly. So the other person will feel as you do. Oh,
God, they're going to like, yes, absolutely. Hence the title, Wrapped Around Your Finger.
Yeah, they'll be wrapped around your finger and your mouth will be wrapped around something else.
Precisely. Precisely.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
And can you access this when you're not in bliss? Like maybe like coming to bliss?
Good sex is good sex, whether you're in bliss or not. Do you have a good sexual relationship with yourself? Do you find yourself fuckable? Are you fully present in that moment when you're with another person? Then the sex is going to be good. But the person has to be able to feed off your energy and your power as much as you would be able to feed off of them. And that's how you know if somebody's really good. Because most people will not really share their power. And that's what makes them lousy fucking lovers. And that's why a lot of fuckboys suck. Because they get the power from the conquest.
Not from the act. Mm-mm. So there is, and it just pops into my head, so I feel it's necessary. There is a lot of old school spiritual teachings about sex and power.
Okay.
And, we've discussed in previous episodes about how you dismiss your power, you give it away.
Yeah.
And that is very different. That is, I forget who I am. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't care about who I am.
Yes.
I don't matter. Mm-hmm.
Where when you're having sex with someone, like, the kind of spiritual idea of I'm not going to, let's say, ejaculate because then I'm giving them my power, or I'm not going to grab my power and like, kind of, I don't know how to describe this better, like infuse us with it, both of us. I'm not going to put my power into you. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not going to channel my power through me and allow it to channel through you.
Right.
And that's all very like big XX in spirituality. What you're saying seems very different to that.
Absolutely. I think a lot of that, even right down to like tantric teachings some would argue that that's like flow of energy. That's a solution in separation. And as we said, anything that is born out of separation will generally be tinged with, if not fully colored by separation. So I don't want to poo-poo it and be like, oh my God, it's shit. I think it was valid. And
but
can
it
be
is
valid
safe
for some people.
But no, my question is, but it is safe when you're having sex with someone to channel your own power and rush it through both of you?
Yeah, why not? I wouldn't say it's safe. It's not about that. It's not the same as, again, abandoning your power.
No.
But if you've got an open channel to your power,
and you're like running it through, and it's so
and
good.
you're running it through, but you know that you are sourced, that you are sourcing. Like the source and be sourced aspect that we talked about a couple seasons ago.
Well, it's like the high definition of love.
Right. So if you're in that part of your evolution, then yes, that's going to work. But that's why sometimes, and this is why your question about if you're sexually compatible and you have a strong sexual relationship, does that eventually fizzle? It does, because you get drained. Because every time you're doing it, you're kind of giving the other person some of your power and vice versa. But that's how you kind of source each other.
But you're not being sourced by it.
Exactly. That's how things get diminished. Because where are you sourcing? Where else are you sourcing in life? You're not.
I'm so sorry. I'm confused. So let's say you're having sex.
Okay. Are you in bliss or not?
We'll go from M to B. The V of M, like from there on.
Oh, yeah. Magic to bliss. Okay.
And you're having sex with someone. And you're channeling your power from source, right? You're like channeling your power through, and you're sharing it with the other person, and they're sharing it with you.
Okay.
So you're feeling yourself, you're feeling your power, you're acknowledging theirs. It's fusing in this really beautiful way in this moment, right? How is that different from I'm giving you my power and you're giving me yours in a that way? In the first half of our logo.
Okay.
Because it sounds to me very similar. Do you see what I'm asking? I feel like I'm your interviewer.
No, I'm trying to like delineate what you're saying in these scenarios. And I see it backwards, as in I see it from the weakest link to the stronger link.
Okay, go
Because you're describing to me the stronger than the weaker.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what you're looking at, is the strength of that power. So again, if you're in that kind of like that weaker link, you have to source your power from somewhere. And maybe you're just doing it sexually. But again, that eventually runs out because you can't run it through all your bodies.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay.
Right? So that's why these things get diminished and why sexually based relationships don't last. Because while you might be feeding off of each other's power sexually, if you cannot source that power fully through the rest of your bodies and through your lives, that's the only place it comes through. Eventually it just gets diminished. Because then you're just like, okay, yeah, we're feeding, but eventually
the amount you can feed is less and less.
Exactly. It becomes diminished.
Where it's a bit like that tap, when we were talking about abundance a long time ago, and it's definitely in the books, where you've got a bath of water and you're either taking water out of the bath or there's a constant tap flowing.
Yeah.
So if the tap's constantly flowing, no one's feeding off each other. They're just running that power through each other, and you become like that electricity conduit that's like kind of just going round and round, rather than we've got this limited amount of power where we're not getting it from anywhere else. So we're giving it to each other, but then it's diminishing, and then eventually there's nothing left.
Yeah, because where am I sourcing it? I'm sourcing it from you, but where are you sourcing it from? Me?
Yes.
Right? Now, I am thinking about a different scenario here, where it might be somebody has a lot of this power or energy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bliss, not necessarily magic, but they've managed to tap in a way, maybe spiritually, like when you were kind of bringing up maybe possibly like tantric practices and stuff. Yeah. So they've got an enormous amount of full-bodied power, if you will. So they're not just running it through their physical body, they've got that. They've got a lot more. And they're with somebody who's maybe not as conscious as they are.
But there's love that connects them.
Not even love. I'm not even talking about that. I'm not saying, this person's in bliss. I'm actually giving an example of a somewhat dysfunctional sexual relationship.
Okay.
The sex is a fundamental part of this relationship, but it's not everything, and you're dating. But the sex is good enough, if not good, like great, but the rest of the relationship is not. What's happening is that one person is sourcing that relationship to such a degree that the other person becomes the parasite. And they're managing to maintain the potency through the sexual relationship. So if I can satisfy at least in this respect, then the other stuff gets a little bit glossed over. In which case then sex is being used as a manipulator, but you almost don't see it because you're dating. The person who's giving over more of their power because their level of consciousness is higher is probably covering about 70% of that relationship, and the person's showing up for about 30. And this is not a karmic relationship. It's just a highly dysfunctional one. And that exists a lot. So a person can go around being like, oh, I'm healed. I've done this retreat. I've done DMT. I'm so open. I'm so like, I get it. I understand the all, etc. But they're choosing partners who are sort of feeding off of that power and using that power in turn to sort of seem as if they have more in that relationship than they really do. And that just becomes it's not symbiotic, it's actually parasitic.
And how would you figure that out? How would you know that that's the case?
A person's really not showing up the way you think. Like the moment you can kind of turn off a little bit of that lust, a little bit further down the road as things kind of clear up a little bit and some of that air gets clear, you can start to see, is that person really are they texting me consistently? Am I hearing from them consistently? Are we connecting through other ways? Or are they constantly using their sexual prowess or energy to make this the central part of our relationship? And that's that feeding bit. It is so common that I think it's worth just sort of sharing this.
One person's sharing their power and they think the other person's giving them theirs, but actually they're not.
So what happens is a person can be withholding, not necessarily sexually, but in other areas. But because they're generous sexually, you start to confuse that.
So it really takes a level of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And then actually it becomes really interesting to think about, because in fact, the fact that we're not so present and we are more disengaged and we are more guarded when we're sleeping with people up to a certain consciousness is actually a very smart protection mechanism. Mm-hmm. And the more conscious you become, the more you're going to be attracting and sleeping with people who are more like you. Yes. And as we said in a previous episode about the open invitation and people finding you and all of that stuff, that the more conscious you are, the more capable you are of being present and really sharing your power with another.
Yes.
The more
it's about
those
sharing.
Partners will be able to do the same back to you rather than leeching off it. So
Precisely.
in a way, it's trust your consciousness and trust your space.
But
don't force it.
But also, you could be a really conscious person. Again, what I'm saying is what can be common around spiritual people, especially with this tendency to want to heal others, is they become blind to what the other person is actually offering and sharing. So while the sex might be good, the other areas not so much, but they end up getting confused. But if it's decent enough here, and I don't mean, oh, we're so sexually compatible, it's amazing, that's all. I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes that's all you have with a person, and you can see it for what it is. But when you're really confusing that, or you think you have a full relationship with somebody, and because the sex is good and it's whatever, you're not seeing the other areas.
Okay.
So my point is also, you can also be a fully conscious person and miss the boat and actually miss the signs.
So how do you get out of that?
You stop making excuses for the other person, and you stop giving them more credit than they deserve. And sometimes it really is about face value in terms of not reading into anything, but understanding and taking a person at face value. And that's what detachment teaches.
And this is stuff that's not really likely to happen when you're past the V
of
the M and the rest of. So if you imagine our logo, the way I'm seeing it right now, we have our logo,
I know,
right?
which I'm
You've
like,
got the
are
K.
other people going to see it?
I'm explaining it. You've got the K, and then you've got the M bridging the B. So I'm imagining if you split the logo in half, right? You've got K going through to half of M, and then the rest of M that's leading to B. If you're in the magic that's leading to bliss, this is unlikely to be you.
Yeah. But, and what we're saying as well is, if you're really running that much power, you do have so much. Again, like you had said, you just have that love that's going to bridge it.
Exactly.
And you just have to be, and
that love is always going to be shared.
Precisely.
And that's why we discussed in a previous season how Source and Be Sourced is really that higher definition of love in some ways, because you are both giving rather than giving and taking and compromising and sacrificing. It's just, as we discussed in Chapel of Love, Karmic Affair, it's a very different set of circumstances for a relationship. And so effectively your sexual relationship just becomes a physical manifestation of what you're already doing emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
Precisely. And it becomes that essential to your everyday life, that it's a given. Yeah. So when it comes to bliss, we are fully satisfied in all the areas that we felt perhaps were lacking before in our karmic realities. It just takes time. Like, you really are going to have to give yourself at least 2 years in bliss to really adjust to this, because it's like the first days of any new experience. Yeah. I mean, you just, it's the adjustment period. It's like, getting through jet lag. It's just something that you have to adjust to. It's new. It's all new. Right down to the sex you're having can be new or different.
But it's not like, when we talk about jet lag, you're like tired all the time and you're uncomfortable. It's more jet just lag. That, it's different. Oh, it's different. Oh, it's different. If I'm Rhea, I'll probably freak out a little bit for a moment. Oh, it's different. Rather than this is not, this is so uncomfortable again. I'm having to readjust in a discomforted way.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, jet lag is something that you eventually get over. It's a given.
Yeah, but my point is it's not uncomfortable in a very deep sense.
Okay, no, not in a deep sense, in a superficial sense. But it is. It's really like you describe. It's like, oh, this is new. Oh, I hadn't seen it that way.
Yeah.
So even in my familiar surroundings, I'm fully aware of something that I hadn't been before.
Yeah. But I think then, like anything, like once you do kind of get used to it, or you do see it that way, you also get to see how far you've come. And like how far you're able to stretch yourself to like accommodate this new energy and this new way of living. So
you get to choose and you get to define what that is and what it looks like, which I think is the greatest expression of divine power we'll ever know.
This episode is brought to you by Karma Magic Bliss. For more information, resources, and links to our books, check out our website, karmamagicbliss.com, and Karma Magic Bliss across all socials.
And if you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review.